So as people are seeing this, it's because we finally have gone live. I'm really excited about it. It's a blog, but it's not just a blog.
Yeah, it's something else. To be honest, with the state of the web the way it is now and all the cool things that are going on, I'm not entirely sure even what the definition of a blog is anymore.
Right.
But
this is our interpretation.
This is our interpretation of a blog. Yeah. One of the really cool things about working at Adobe is, we get to essentially experiment and then feed that directly back to our product teams. The prospect of building this blog site that we could use to communicate with our customers, which to be honest was really sort of priority number one.
That was the motivation. Right.
But the sort of the secondary goal of that was to actually explore a completely new territory. A website that was in Flex, that was behaving like a blog, that was delivering dynamic content, that was hooked up to a back-end CMS, that was able to handle video and all kinds of other dynamic stuff and have a cool design and
it really does
all
show
of that
off
stuff.
The versatility of Flex in many ways. I mean, everything that you listed off.
I think so. Yeah, no, absolutely. That sort of proves to be a kind of a model for us internally so that we can start to point Flex apps to do things that way. Mm-hmm. And even better yet, it's something that we can start to bring back to the Flex team and say, we know that we need to get to these places. Let's start to think about componentry and frameworks that we can build around these types of features so that all Flex apps can do this much more easily.
Yeah.
One of the things that I wanted to be really sure of is that the site came off the right way. Mm-hmm. And I actually went as far as to prescribe some attributes to this site as if it were a person with a personality.
Right.
And it sort of served as a guiding principle for all the things that we did with the site. So, making the simple decision that that if this site had a personality, that it isn't it isn't someone that's preaching. It isn't someone that is trying to, sort of say, this is how we do things.
This is not us on our soapbox.
It's not us on a soapbox. It's not us trying to tell people the way that it is. It's not even us really trying to say that we have the right answers for all this stuff.
This is us, XD, sharing stuff that's on our mind, stuff that we feel is cool, interesting, things that we even have questions on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. This is just as much about expecting and assuming that our community and our viewership of this site knows the right answer in many cases better than we do and can help contribute to that.
Sure.
So, our articles may take the form of one of our product designers actually asking for opinions on how a particular feature should be.
Yeah.
It may be that one of us poses some more philosophical topic, and then everybody is free to interject their opinions. And it shouldn't be about learning from Adobe or like, oh, we want to hear what Adobe has to say about this. It should just be a bunch of peers talking about design, and I think that's really key.
I think what's going to keep this interesting and fresh are seeing the suggestions and the ideas that come from people that maybe weren't expecting.
Yeah.
We've planned a lot of content. We obviously we're going to continue to develop it and push it out. But that's what makes this kind of a fascinating, less blog-like. This is a collective effort.
Exactly. Yeah. What's cool about this setup is there's no other sort of Adobe entity actually that we have to answer to for it. And it's one of those rare cases, and I don't mean to suggest that that's a bad thing necessarily, but it's a rare case of the design team being able to just go off and do something that the design team feels strongly about, by design, for design, and we don't really have to worry too much about revenue and ship dates.
Right.
And it's one of the most nimble projects that I've ever had the fortune to work on. And I think that's really cool. I'm stoked about that.
So it's owned by XD.
I hope so.
That's how I look at it.
Yeah, I hope so.
And in some ways, it's owned by our community. Externally, and then the community of Adobe. By that, it's so content driven.
Yeah, and one of the things actually that we've done, I believe, twice already with the articles that we've got, and I hope continues, is guest writers and guest speakers on videos. I think it would be really great for people to be able to see video conversations, sort of like this one, between some of the Flash superstars out there, or We've got an interview with an agency, and doing more of that kind of stuff. So it's not just Adobe people talking.
Right.
I think it would be really, really interesting for people to see, two people that have a respect for one another, but at the same time, very different processes. Talk about their process in relation to the other, and how one might be different or better, or
a peek behind the scenes at their approaches.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a firm believer in the notion that you learn a lot more by mistakes and disagreement, and sort of all of the quote unquote negative things that can happen in a process. If everything is going smoothly and if everyone agrees, there's not much to be learned.
Right.
And so, hearing from people with different processes, or having two designers talk and debate an issue with wildly opposing viewpoints, I think is completely healthy. And to the point that you made earlier, I think we tend to misdefine words like argument. And we immediately
or emphasize them as a bad thing.
Yeah, we immediately read into
sharing different opinions.
Right. Yeah. I think people immediately read into that. Like I would say, I've never had an argument I've never had a fight with my wife, but I've had many arguments with my wife. And an argument is just two people taking opposing viewpoints. And
we argue a lot.
A little bit more than a lot. I also beat you at ping pong a lot.
Oh boy.
So I think in as much as we don't want our sort of Adobe design team to come off as kind of one unified voice that's all happy and in agreement and always thinks everything is just so, I would love nothing more than for this blog to turn into discussions all over the place where people are projecting wildly different viewpoints. And of course, that all has to come with respect. I mean, at the end of the day, we all respect one another.
Absolutely.
You and I could go off and have some, heated debate about how we feel about a particular issue. But at the end of the day, I'm still going to respect and acknowledge your viewpoint, even though I may not agree with it.
This is an open door. I mean, just as much as it is for us to share these ideas. Likewise, we want suggestions from people. We want to hear what they're thinking about, what's inspiring to them. In the spirit of sharing, one of the things that we talked about in developing this that we thought was really important was the access that this hopefully allows. We do a lot of interesting seminars. We have amazing speakers that are internationally recognized that only speak to Adobe employees. We want to share that content with people. We think they'll find it interesting. I like also that this allows us to proactively, upon launches, tell people what was on our minds when we did certain things, right?
Yeah.
It kind of takes away a little bit of that element of surprise. So in other words, just instead of putting a product out there, what we hope to do is put some content around that.
Right.
In advance of, certainly, after something goes live.
Yeah. And I think this allows us to sort of let people know why we made the decisions that we made. So instead of just reading on the box, before it's released, CS4 features a brand new workspace or whatever, that people get to really understand why we did that. And if certain things happen to change, I think a lot of times the sort of knee-jerk reaction is, why did you change something? Why are you making me relearn something when I didn't need to do that? And I think when users hear some of our justifications behind things, a lot of times that makes it easier for them to understand why we did it and why that might be a good thing.
And I feel personally that's kind of what has been absent in the past.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Right. Yeah. I think having this as a sounding board for all manner of stuff like that, I think is really, really key. So. I'm really stoked about it. I think it's going to be a cool thing, and
it's exciting.
Yeah, it's definitely exciting, and I think it's a moving target. It's agile environment, and I think we have the power to change this thing and to continue to evolve it and let it react to people in a way that we've really never had before, and that I think is pretty cool.
Right.